How this anime manages to take a character like Panda, already considered to be my favorite character even before all the information and badassery we just witnessed, and you can turn him into even more of an engaging character. That's the beauty of Jujutsu Kaisen. See, I'm a simple man. I like pandas. They're my favorite animal. I follow so many just panda-focused Twitter sort of social media account. I like watching pandas because they're cute as shit. But they can also be badasses. And just seeing this episode, seeing the cursed corpse and the idea that Panda doesn't have just one little ability. He's got 3. Brother, sister, panda. I mean, that's amazing. That's incredible. And putting into perspective what we've seen before with the principal and things like that, the cursed corpse has been a very relevant topic, and for whatever reason, I just assumed there was a talking panda. I think, for me, it was like, oh, maybe he's wearing a suit, or maybe it's like a remote-controlled thing. Honestly, at first, when we got the kind of reveal of the bathtub and this very disfigured man, it's like, oh, is he controlling it from a distance? And then you realize, no, that's the mecha sort of situation. Panda is literally just a cursed corpse panda. And that's so fascinating to me, the way they're able to reveal so much but have it be engaging and action-packed the entire way through. Honestly, I wasn't sure what to expect walking into this episode, and based on the intro of the episode, you would think, oh yeah, we're gonna fight the witch here, right? I mean, that's seemingly what we're building up to. And instead, you know what? Our boy Panda, he just wrecks everything. And what I like about it is, similar to last week's fight with Toto versus Yuji, you have situations where it feels very one-sided and then it gets flipped on its head, and then by the end of the episode it gets flipped all again. And even in this episode, we get even more content with our boys here. I mean, I think it's just amazing to see these two best friends you would never think would be best friends until they ultimately kind of become it in the middle of battle, even though I still think our boy Yuji is still a little confused about his newfound friend. And the idea of having all that content I think is great, especially considering how it's basically a teacher-student relationship in the middle of what's supposed to be a life or death situation, but our boy Toto just sees him as a man of culture, and he's just saying, how do you fight? This is how you fight. You gotta start using your techniques like this, otherwise, you know, you're not gonna be able to do much. You might be able to go up against some lower class sorcerers, but are you really gonna go up against the top dogs? I thought that's great. I think it's a great way to show that not only is there's this kind of rivalry slash friendship, and that's gonna carry over into the future episodes, I like the idea that this is a man who values certain things in life, and the fact that Yuji is kind of resembling that. To him, that's not someone he wants to kill, that's someone he wants to challenge and have as an obstacle going forward in his own life. In the case of Panda, this man's awesome. I mean, I was already just having fun with seeing a panda go into a boxing ring and just having a blast against someone who has some of the coolest animation we've seen in Jujutsu Kaisen. The laser blast, the way they are destroying trees and the surroundings. I mean, this was smoothly animated. This was smooth as butter. Everything about it was engaging, it was emotional, and I like the idea of having, if you look at it from a distance, you pretty much should say, oh, they're both cursed corpse. They have a lot in common, right? Even though this man's kind of controlling a mecha body from a bathtub because he's completely disfigured and doesn't have much control of his own body. You know, in comparison, you think they'd have a lot in common. I mean, a guy who really isn't a human but has emotions despite being a cursed corpse, and someone who is human but honestly is more machine than anything. You think they'd have a lot in common. And I like how Panda uses that emotional kind of vulnerability to his advantage over the course of the fight, but rather than just being a douchebag about it, he pretty much just says, give me your contact information because, you know, we're going to be friends whether you like it or not. There's a lot of friendship in Jujutsu Kaisen, but rather going in a lot of those classic kind of like cheesy cliche battle shonens. Friendship, when it does pop up, it feels quite natural, and there's similarities that make it feel warranted, rather than you're avoiding conflict because, well, they're friends and that's just how it is. In the case of Yuji and Toto, they have a lot in common, as, you know, you might say as shallow as some of their reasons are, in terms of their combat, their preference in women, they just have a lot in common that it doesn't make sense for a man like Toto to want to kill someone like Yuji. He would want to challenge him. In the case of Panda here, I mean, there's a lot that can be seen as in common just at surface level, but there's also a lot of emotional vulnerability because they both are different, and I would really like to see more with Panda take up that and really see what he could explore emotionally with a character like this. So it's nice to have those, like, they still fought, but they also kind of came out as friends, and in this case, instead of having it be like the antagonist side, or what appeared to be the antagonist side, forcing friendships on characters like Yuji, this time it was Panda forcing it on a mecha body, and I completely loved that. But the realization that there's actually 3 cores inside Panda and getting gorilla mode, I mean, at first, I thought, like, how the hell is this man? Because he looked deflated after he got kind of sniped, and that's why I thought maybe he was the one being controlled from a distance. but the idea that it was actually the older sister's kind of core, and then that was kind of drained, and then the Panda core got drained, and then you activate gorilla mode, that's just really cool. I think in terms of what we've seen, you could look at some things at surface level and say, oh, we've seen which powers before, we've seen this power before. But a talking panda with 3 cores, with 3 vastly different forms and abilities, with different ways to utilize them, that is so refreshing. I mean, ever since the panda popped up in the opening and the show kicked off, everyone wanted to see the panda, and rightfully so, pandas are great. And when we got the panda, I think most of us were probably content with just having a talking panda, and only having select characters like Yuji question why is there a talking panda. But then to get the clarification and just like actually feel like it belongs in the world, it follows a set of rules. It's not something that the author just did as a funny way to just make it goofy, which they could have and it would have been perfectly fine because people like the damn panda. But they went the extra mile to really make it flesh out, and it just adds so much creativity to this already fascinating and amazing series. The fight scene was just non-stop badassery, and truthfully, I thought like once the fight was getting going, I thought Panda was gonna have to like tag team someone else in here. I thought maybe, we'd focus back on Yuji's fight, Yuji would lose or win, retreat, whatever it was, and then maybe he'd have to join into the fray. But it was nice to see Panda hold his own, and it felt like a well-earned victory rather than something because he's on the protagonist's side he magically won, because that's just how battle shonens are. No, Jujutsu Kaisen laid out a foundation that made it feel like that was a well-earned victory, and he came damn close. The idea of actually having to conceal his cores and actually using that manipulation to his advantage, like there's just so many little things happening that makes it feel so perfect. Like Jujutsu Kaisen has a battle shonen formula that I have never seen before. There's so much familiarity in terms of the intro for characters or the intro of the actual story arcs, but it really gets rolling and becomes something so spectacular, and it just makes you really happy to see a production value this high for a story that has this high of quality. One thing I definitely really appreciate about Panda's voice actor is they didn't make him like overly cute or overly derpy. I just kind of feel like that's the direction you go. You look at his past, he's a cute little panda, he's cute, he has a cute voice, but in his adult form, he has, like, I would just say a human voice. Like, there's elements that make him feel more panda, and it's hard to, like, put into words what I mean there, but there's certain, like, mannerisms in his voice that makes him feel more like an animal than more like a human, but at the end of the day, he feels like a person, and despite his physical appearance, the way the voice actor has portrayed such, I would honestly argue, a complex role given how fleshed out his character is. It really does blow me away with how good the voice actors' performances across the board have been. But especially in those more unique performances like Panda, it really does blow you away, even with the mecha stuff as well. The vocal performances, the effects they layer on top, it just adds a whole other dynamic to an already perfect series, and it just keeps getting better from here if I'm being honest. I mean, this was just great to have Panda really kind of take the reins, control the episode, put it where he wants, and come out with a newfound friend. And, it's weird to compliment so much friendship in a battle shonen, but leave it to Jujutsu Kaisen to reinvent the wheel, so to speak. Let me know your thoughts and feelings, and definitely your theories on where these battles could go next week, and obviously in future episodes as well. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, share your support, and hit that subscribe button if you're happy new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.